All right, just wanted to have a little chat about the car industry because I think we're in a midst of a big market disruption and a lot of people are ignoring it. But I think what we're seeing now is a huge change going on, and I think that's as a result of lots of new EVs in the market from lots of manufacturers, including a flurry from Chinese brands that are hitting the market with really compelling electric cars. I sat in some at the Everything Electric show and was blown away really by quality and spec and price. I think I was with Alex Lowe from Interface Cars, and I was sitting in a plug-in hybrid, and I could have sworn it was an Audi because it was such a nice car to sit in. Really well appointed interior, and I don't even remember what it was, but it was like a mid-sized cherry SUV crossover thing. It's a plug-in hybrid, which is a bit weird at Everything Electric show because that wasn't really everything electric within that car. But that aside, I asked Alex how much it cost, and he said it was 22 grand, and I almost fell out of the car. I couldn't believe it. 22,000. I mean, that's the price of a Peugeot E208, and there you can have like a mid-size SUV for 22 grand. You know, so people will buy them. I've seen lots of JQs on the road and Omodas because people are buying them because they're really reasonably priced. They're really nicely appointed inside, and they're cheap. What you got to remember that I might be a car nerd, but and there are reasons why I choose particular brands of cars, but most people just want something that's efficient, inexpensive, nice place to sit, safe for the family, and doesn't cost them much to buy or run. That's kind of the goal, really. My sister is one of those kind of typical people that she'd come to me and ask me for advice about what car she should buy, and she won't buy an electric car. And I give her advice, being a car nerd, and she gets swayed because the parcel shelf folds down behind the back seat, and she thinks that's the best feature in the world and buys the car. That's kind of pretty much a typical customer, though. They want to be surprised by a little bit of innovation here and there. Kind of caught me with, I've had Skodas in the past, and they innovated a little bit like that. But alongside that, I think we're going to have some manufacturers. I think are going to have difficulties. I think is probably the best way of describing this, because you've got the likes of Mazda, Honda, Toyota. They really need to buckle up and produce some very good, compelling electric cars, because they're not at the moment. And Honda showed a little glimmer of promise with the Honda E, which was probably had not enough range and was overpriced, but it was a fantastic little car. And they just need to nail that one down, get it out cheap, do a Mark II on that, bring the price right down, and produce a fantastic car. But they didn't. They canned it. I don't get it. Anyway, I mean, the world is kind of going electric, and you got some Japanese manufacturers that are kind of frustrate that, and it's weird because they're in the industry to make cars. It shouldn't really, matter to them whether it's an electric car or an internal combustion car. It's what the market is demanding, and the market is demanding a growth of electric cars, and they should be up there meeting those demands, and they should have some very clever people predicting these kind of disruptions. And it's always the incumbents that don't listen. That's always what happens. You look at, a very typical example with Blockbuster Video. That came out in the 80s, and I remember going to the store, and there's a whole library of videotapes to go and choose from. And the brilliant thing was, once you'd hired your videotape and you had a few days to watch it, you could pop it through their Dropbox. You didn't actually have to go back into store. That was pretty revolutionary back then. But then you had streaming services that came along. Oh no, in between that, you had like a mail service where they'd send you a disc and you'd send it back. You couldn't be bothered with that. And then streaming services came on, and like you didn't even have to get off the sofa. You could just flick through whatever you wanted. And that was the market killed for video rental. Blockbuster didn't learn. They didn't. They didn't adapt. And they're gone forever. And something similar happened with the mobile phone industry. The mobile phone industry was disrupted by Apple. I mean, this is like a phase 2 disruption. Phase 1 was disrupting the landline and the call boxes on the streets. You used to have to get these. It was really irritating because you used to have to get these phone cards and then load credit to it. So the credit was then taken off your phone card electronically, and it meant that you didn't have to employ people to go and take cash out of the phone booths. Anyway, so you'd never have quite enough credit on your card, and you'd have to go rushing off somewhere to buy another card or top up on the credit. And then you had a mobile phone, you think, don't need that anymore. I just got a mobile. That's fine. I can call whoever I want whenever I want, and they can call me. No problem. Pager industry killed overnight. And then along came Apple with their smartphone, and overnight they said, you know what, we're going to have an app store. Going to do away with all the hardware on the front of your phone. You're going to have an app store, and you can do whatever you want with your phone. I mean, I don't have a stereo system in my house. I don't have music in compact disc form anymore. I don't have an address book. I don't have a camera. I don't have a wallet. It's all that junk in my life is gone. And this is kind of like what's going to happen, similar with what's going to happen with the electric car. They're going to come along and say, you can buy this car. It's really cheap to buy. It's from China. It's really well made. It's really safe. It's got everything in it that you need. It has software updates, regular ones. And it's going to cost you, a couple of £100 a year in fuel, and that's it. And people are going to be scratching their head thinking, why am I going to go and buy a petrol Golf that cost me 30 odd grand that I then have to spend £5,000 on options? I can go and get that. This is where I'm coming from with like legacy. Is like, why are we stuck in this way of ordering a car, adding in lots of options, adding in accessories that really should be on an options list, like swishy indicators, and why are we tied into regular service schedules? Because there are no oil changes. There's no gearbox inspections. There's no clutches. There's no exhaust systems. There's no really few moving parts in it. Why are you sticking to these kind of legacy methods of servicing your car? You have to have your EV serviced every year. People are just going to think, no, don't want it. Don't want that hassle anymore. All that expense. I can just go somewhere else, and that's not required of me. And that'll be that. So legacy manufacturers have to adapt. The issue they've got is the big dealership chain, because the dealerships need to make their money, and they need to figure out how they're going to do that. And that's where there's going to be losses in the industry, will be these kind of dealership chains, because whether they'll just become kind of like sales stores or I don't know, repair centers and service centers. I don't know, but I know from my own car, it doesn't, Tesla doesn't mandate a service on it. It won't invalidate the warranty. By all means, have your car inspected and have your cabin air filter changed and your door hinges greased and your brakes checked every so often, but doesn't need a service. So let's kind of do away with that kind of legacy requirement. It has to go in every single year. So this is where change is going to come, and I think it almost seems like some manufacturers have kind of been milking it for a while, milking their customers for a lot of money, and giving you nice coffee and some biscoffs when you go in. and some magazines and a bit of TV to watch. I don't want to sit and waste 2 hours in a service centre. I really don't. I've done that with BMW. It really annoyed me. Truly annoyed me. There's only so much nice coffee you can have, and so much TV. I just wanted to get my car and get out. That's kind of where we're at. So I think massive disruption's underway. People don't realise it, but it's going to happen, and it's going to happen fairly quick now. And you kind of wake up one day and go, well, this has all changed, as it did with the smartphone, as it did with Blockbuster videos. It's all going to change. I just popped in my head, Blockbuster videos. I don't even own a video player, recorder, DVD thing anymore, Blu-ray, whatever it is. What's the point? I've got streaming services. It's just, I don't need to buy some hardware to stuff in other hardware to then play something that I can just stream. It's just all of that kind of nonsense is gone from your life, and I think we'll probably look back at that kind of era of feeling fleeced from car ownership with legacy manufacturers and their kind of internal combustion cars. I think that's kind of we'll get to that point in the future and look back and think, wow, we did really spend a lot of money on our cars back then, and we really don't need to now. And I think that's where we're at. There'll be another disruption coming along after that, which will be autonomy. But we're away from that yet, a little way from that yet, and that has the potential to drop car ownership, the car ownership model for a lot of people. If you can get in an autonomous driverless taxi, and instead of it costing you, I don't know, 20 quid to go on a 10 minute journey, and it'll cost you £2 and it's cheaper than the bus, guess what's going to happen? Exactly that. I shall leave you that thought. See you later.